to sing other songs every time.
He didn't do very well in the song that he sang of someone else.
But that's because it was all put on, as Luke says in his review. He was always going to sing that song, but the drama.
I thought
singing
the more
another song.
I didn't agree with that so much. I think the more put on was the other one last night, where Simon Cowell just suddenly went, "Oh, I see you've got this other song."
Anytime the Hand of Doom gets raised.
Also, I want to mention this.
Last year. Do you remember Bupsy?
I want to mention as well. No. There was a very weird moment. There was a woman on it last night who lost her son. And she was fine. She was singing along, and Louis said to her, "You've only got the one child, right?" That seems like a very odd thing to say.
I mean, the big talking point was the old Honey G who did the Missy Elliott song, and also if you watched Extra Factor Live with Rylan and Edmondson, she actually she performed on that as well and did "Sorry" by Justin Bieber. So that was.
I'm not sorry I missed that. Funnily enough.
Okay, now let's get to what Luke wanted to talk about at the start. One of Us, which is a 4-part drama set in Scotland, written by Jack and Harry Williams of The Missing fame. This is about two families who live in the Highlands. One is an English family, the other is a Scottish family. The son from the English family gets married to the daughter of the Scottish family.
Great opening sequence.
They live next door to each other.
Yeah, they live next door to each other. The Scottish family aren't that happy about it, really, because we learned throughout that the dad from the English family was a bit, they didn't like him. He'd done something. I
can't believe how old Adrian is.
Adrian, at the end, it was revealed to be a
great bit of casting.
Yeah, who was also in War and Peace, I believe, earlier this year.
Yeah, you're right.
And basically, you see their story being played out in the opening moments. This couple getting together, uni and whatever, and you see this is at their wedding. He's doing a speech, and then you see this playing on the wedding video in their flat, and they've both been murdered.
Yeah,
I love that bit, Luke, because you told me about it.
It's one of the most unique opening sequences of
it was. Yes, I agree with that.
And then after that, I mean, the murderer ends up going.
Well, can I just say that you didn't actually see him murdering them? You see him in the flat.
Okay.
But I agree that
the guy you assume.
The guy you assume is the murderer.
Yeah. But I think the twist is that he didn't.
Okay. The guy you assume is the murderer then journeys up to this. It's like a farm that the Scottish family live on. John Lynch, Julie Graham's characters. And then Juliet Stevenson, who's the mum of the English family. Both of her children, who are played by Joe Dempsey and Joanna Vanderham, live in Edinburgh now, but both come back after learning their brother's been murdered. And the guy who we think is the murderer arrives. He's been in a car accident, and they find him, don't they?
And well, basically, he got he stole the car.
And he has their postcode in his pocket, but we
don't know why. Is that a postcode in your pocket, or are you happy to see me?
They lock him in like a cage and say, because there's a storm a brewing.
Yeah, they've got like horses, isn't they? They lock him in.
There's a storm a brewing, and we have to lock everything down. The police, they say they've rung the police, but they don't ring the police.
They cancel the ambulance.
Cancel the ambulance. Don't ring the police. Leave him in this cage overnight. The morning after, he's been murdered.
Oh. And then
the
police turn up.
But the police investigator, played by Laura Fraser, is herself a bit dodgy, selling LCD to fund her daughter's operation or something like that.
Yeah.
As you do. I would do exactly the same.
Yeah.
Oddest bit of casting for me in this was seeing Steve Everts play a police officer.
Yes! I thought he's the dodgy one.
Yeah.
Thought, he's just been round to Red's house.
We know from Rev.
Yeah.
And he plays dodgy in everything he's in. I've never seen him play he probably wanted to sort of extend his range a bit, didn't he?
But he just sounded exactly the same. Yeah. He didn't try
hard
at
all.
Unless, of course, he's the murderer.
He didn't try at all to change himself in any way.
I'm a gruff cop.
We're all talking about this quite fondly, but I wasn't that impressed with it.
No, I don't think any of us were.
No, but I think it was certainly... Again,
watched it a second time.
Is this a case of there just wasn't anything else on, so this felt big?
Let Luke speak, Gary.
Well, I watched it a second time, and it was because before I watched it on the computer, I was immersed, I thought, but not fully. It was quite an atmospheric hour when I watched it the second time. It was, I enjoyed that. I thought the pacing of it was very good. I think where it went wrong for me is they just gave all the characters too many backstories that we don't really care about,
There's like Joanna Van Der Ham plays like a nurse, a carer.
Who wants to
someone wants to help them die,
and then Joe Dempsey's engaged to Georgina Campbell. She's been raped, and
he's stalking somebody as well.
He's stalking the rapist.
Yeah,
we've only got 3 hours of this, and I think the story on its own of these people.
I got the impression that they've written this as a 6-parter. And BBC says no, you're only getting 4 because we need to put something else on.
I would guess that what they're trying to do is, like in the style of a good whodunit, they're trying to give you the backstory on all of them, so that they all have some kind of backstory motive, situation.
Maybe Jonathan Creek turns up, because it is a bit of a locked-up mystery.
The only character I was kind of a bit confused by was the bloke who was living in the stables.
Oh, Gary Lewis's character.
Yeah. Because he's not a part of the family, he works for the Scottish family.
I think the point was that he's been with them for so long, he's almost like part of the family.
Sure, but I was like, well then but I don't know, I just felt like he was a character that...
Well, he's trying to fund his son's need to dance. That's what...
I liked it for the most part if they'd focused on those characters and not the backstory of them.
Oddly,
they've only got 3 more hours to fill.
I was like the first bit, then it got bogged down a bit after the storm, and then the reveal of Adrian Edmondson for some reason sort of drew me back in, and I was really intrigued.
Yeah, that was well done at the end.
So, will all of us stick with one of us?
I think in absence of a lot else, yes, because there's still not a huge amount of drama on. But I think,
and also it only requires
it's only 4
hours.
I think it's because it's I was going to say because it's a 4. I agree with that. I mean, I kind of
want to know now.
So no, I agree with what Gary said about there only being 4. I think.
Yeah, that I said it, but I'm happy for you to think Gary.
Well, Gary said it as well because there's not many of them. You both said it, but no, I agree generally. Right. Yeah, I'm probably going to try and power through some of these, do them together because I think that's probably the best way to watch.
Do you think, though, we would be more intrigued if it was longer? But like I said before, they're giving them too many backstories. So
the fact that the police officer has a separate storyline about, selling drugs and things.
It's as if they're doing like Lost did. Everybody has to have a backstory. Everybody has to have a reason for being in the show. There's no incidental characters. I don't know whether that makes it more or less interesting, but it certainly means that 4 episodes... it feels very crammed. Yeah.
Why does Georgina Campbell need to have been raped? She's already been, murdered by her boyfriend.
I thought she's already been in a really bad Blake Harrison sitcom.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
She's been in a lot of rubbish since Murdered by Murder.
Yeah, but she's in the 3rd Broadchurch, so that could either go on the rubbish counter.
Unless Broadchurch is like Star Trek films, and therefore the even ones are bad and the odd one is good, then I'm not holding out a lot of hope for you.
Where are we now?
Victoria?
Okay, just say it once. Fine.
Well, Matt's in charge of reviews. Yeah. I don't know whether we need to establish that again, but
Queen Victoria, as an 18-year-old, becomes queen. A lot of people scheming against her, and she falls in love with Rufus Sewell. How's that?
Albert.
As we all did.
No, he doesn't play out. He plays Lord Melbourne, the Prime Minister, her advisor. That she sort of.
Albert, you would know
is that historically accurate?
A lot of it is historically accurate.
Yeah. Well, he certainly was her advisor. It was sort of like not love, really. It's sort of admiration. He's
like you and I, Matt. It's not.
He's the only person
love.
Who sort of helps her in because her mum's scheming against her and. Uncle scheming against her. They all want to overthrow her and start like a region.
Well, this is when monarchs actually meant something, wasn't it? When they actually had power and did things. So, I mean, it's understandable that there'd be a bit more intrigue.
I have to say, though, I did like Jenna Coleman's performance.
Yes, as did Luke.
I don't like you talking in the third person.
Because I forgot I was watching, if it makes sense, I forgot I was watching Jenna Coleman. That's the big thing, that it's like, former Doctor Who companion, will she do well, blah, blah, blah. I forgot that was her, and I was just watching a performance of Queen Victoria, and I think she brought some of her sort of youthful exuberance to it.
A lot of people in the press today calling her out for being too attractive to play Queen Victoria, which is a little unfair.
That blooming Munter Emily Blunt played her before, so you know.
Well,
yeah,
whoa.
That really ugly...
Whoa, that's James Blunt's sister, if you don't mind. That's not.
That's who he wrote You're Beautiful about.
Yeah.
I thought she did really well. I really like Rufus Sewell's good and everything. I think he's perfectly cast as the sort of dashing Prime Minister type. I wasn't a big fan of Peter Firth's performance as the sort of scowling uncle with the scar over one eye who keeps wanting his niece to fail so he can take the regency role with her mother.
I tell you what it was. I agree with you. I liked Jenna Coleman. I liked Rufus Sewell. I liked, elements of it. It's the opposite.
Were there elephants in it?
There were elephants in it.
I'll tell you one thing I don't like.
Yeah.
The need to
upstairs,
have a focus on the servants.
Yes, the upstairs, downstairs.
Miles and the kid from Waterloo Road and all of that.
But also, I think it's the opposite problem to what we were just discussing with one of us. There are 6 more of these because there are 8 and they played 2 already. And I just did quick maths on your asses. But I don't know whether I want to watch another 6. I just don't know.
I don't know when it finishes in her reign. Obviously, they're not going to age her to look like Judi Dench and Mrs. Brown.
I would love that.
But I thought it was... And obviously, as you can imagine, it costs so much to make that everything looks...
10 million.
10 million. An episode or altogether?
I don't know. Bringing that up, I mean, it's a co-production with PBS, I think, which often these big things are.
Yeah,
one of the things you learnt in Edinburgh that surprised me, or that I didn't know before, is that the BBC have a higher drama budget than ITV does. I never knew that. I always assumed that ITV
but I think
had
what
budgets.
ITV do is they spend their money on the big entertainment shows, like the X Factor and all that, and paying celebrities for the jungle.
Yeah, but
and stuff.
drama-wise, they have a smaller budget than the BBC, and
that's why they have to do these co-productions.
I'm not as surprised by that as you, because I don't think they make their money out of drama. I mean, look, all ITV dramas are released on DVD the day after they finish. What does that tell you?
They are.
That tells you that perhaps they're not as invested in it as their other shows.
You're going to buy this on DVD, Gary?
No, I'm going to wait for the to come on Netflix. You're going to watch it? I don't think so. No, I mean,
it is more of the same. It is more of the same.
I don't think it's as it's not exactly the same as Downton Abbey because this has sort of got a historical context. It's rooted in history, so I think she's very good, and if you like her performance, I think you'll like it. I prefer it initially to Downton Abbey. I found Downton Abbey a bit sort of too soap opera.
I tell you what the problem might be is it's on too soon after not too soon as in it's the first big
slots.
Yeah, and it's the first big thing since that.
But that's they want those comparisons, I think, to an extent.
Do you think the fact that they launched it over Bank Holiday and did 2 episodes hurt it or helped it, or no, neither?
I think it helped it because
the ratings
they've
were
got
good.
Poldark coming back next Sunday on BBC.
I was going to say it's going to go up against Poldark, and that's got an established audience.
One of the things they raised at Edinburgh, they had this they called it the leaders' debate, where all the channel heads were there.
Where basically they were just lovely to one another.
The scheduling thing is one of the things they brought up, and they mentioned Poldark versus Victoria. And they basically said, both Charlotte Moore and Kevin Lygo said, there's room for both of these in the market.
You've got ITV Plus One and the iPlayer, and both now count towards the final consolidated figures. So, I mean, it's not like either of them are going to be too bothered if they lose. It's not like X Factor versus Strictly.
I think ITV are, because they've got the... Yeah. Actually, it was Jay Hunt of Channel 4 who brought up that BBC needs to think about what they do with the scheduling sometimes, because if no one watches a BBC programme, it's not going to affect their bottom end, where it will ITV, because advertisers won't. Gary, that's not an that's a yes.
That's true.
But just because the BBC is funded by us doesn't mean that we, the paying public, should have to have our programmes moved just because of commercial competitors.
That's the opposite of what Matt said.
Oh, is that the opposite? Sorry.
Kind of.
So what was Jay Hunt trying to imply?
She was saying that the BBC should...
shouldn't. Sorry, I do apologise.
They should think about where they put things, is what she was saying. It's like the Strictly X Factor thing. It's
so that's implying that they should put programs in not on at prime time. Is that right?
Or no, more like Poldark and Victoria, as we say, have got a similar audience. Say if you put Victoria up against One of Us, that in theory is a slightly different audience because they're not both
right. Oh, I see.
Whereas Victoria